By the time we reach our 60s, we know grief. But what about the grief for children we don't see? Children hidden in cycles of exploitation. Their pain is invisible, yet it presses against our hearts. This is what I call collective grief, sorrow for lives we may never touch, but cannot ignore. And at 60 and beyond, we are not bystanders. We are witnesses. We are caretakers of empathy. But to truly understand this grief, we need to look closer. Behind the silence are numbers, stories, and lives that reveal just how widespread and urgent this hidden exploitation really is.
I mean, our own personal stories play a massive role. Just think about it for a second. By the time someone's in their 60s, they've almost certainly experienced loss in some way, right? And that experience, it doesn't just go away. It becomes like a lens you see the world through. It can make you way more tuned in to the suffering of other people, because you spent a lifetime learning just how precious things like safety and dignity really are.
So this collective grief we feel, it's a response to something very real and, frankly, devastating. But this kind of suffering, it doesn't just pop up out of thin air. It grows in the cracks, the cracks in our global society. So let's break down exactly why this happens.
Yeah, this exploitation isn't just random bad luck. It absolutely thrives when four specific things come together. First, you've got extreme poverty, which pushes families to the brink of desperation. Then, that desperation gets cranked up to 11 by conflict and instability, leaving people without homes or protection. On top of that, you have deep-rooted gender inequality, where girls are valued less and become the easiest targets. And the whole terrible system is held in place by weak laws and corruption, which basically gives criminals a free pass to operate.
And listen, this is not a problem that's just over there somewhere. No way. This is a massive global crisis. But it looks a little different depending on where you are in the world. It kind of wears a different mask in every region. Let's take a quick tour.
You might think that in places like the US or Europe, this problem is far away. But the truth is, it's often hiding right under our noses, in plain sight. It's the domestic worker who's trapped in a nice suburban house. It's the farm laborer who's had their passport taken away. Or it's the teenager who is tricked with promises of a better life in the big city.
Now, if we look at Latin America, the big drivers are often huge gaps between the rich and poor, and, believe it or not, the tourism industry, which can be a real double-edged sword. That desperate search for work creates this incredibly risky environment where vulnerable people, and especially kids, get pulled into forced labor or sex trafficking. And then you turn to Asia, and the scale is just mind-blowing. The International Labor Organization found that the region's huge, unregulated economies, the off-the-books work, are hiding some of the highest numbers of exploited people anywhere. We're talking millions just in forced labor, often hidden in the supply chains for stuff we all buy.
Over in many parts of Africa, the problem is all tangled up with conflict, intense poverty, and huge numbers of displaced people. It's like the perfect storm, creating a situation where traffickers can just prey on people who've already lost everything. The common thread, no matter where you look, it's vulnerability, and it's invisibility.
Look, to really get a grip on the scale of this, sometimes words just don't cut it. The UN estimates that right now, as we're talking, 50 million people are living in modern slavery. 50 million. That is more than the entire population of Spain. This isn't some dusty history lesson. This is happening right now.
And this is the part that's just so hard to stomach. Out of all those millions of people, 1 in every 3 victims is a child. Just let that sink in for a moment. A full third of this crisis is being borne by the most defenseless people on our planet.
And we absolutely cannot ignore how much this crisis targets women and girls. They are hit the hardest, by far. We're looking at a staggering 75%. That's 3 out of every 4 victims. It's just a brutal reminder of where the vulnerability is really concentrated.
Okay, hearing all of this, it can feel completely paralyzing, right? It's so easy to just feel powerless. But what if that grief, that sorrow we feel, what if it isn't the end of the story? What if it's actually the starting line for making a real difference? And really, that's the question that matters most, isn't it? When you're staring down a problem this huge, what can one person actually do? Well, the answer might surprise you. It turns out we can do a lot. So how do we turn that feeling into action? It starts with a pretty straightforward plan. First, just talk about it. Make the invisible visible. Second, we can support the amazing organizations that are already out there on the front lines. Third, we got to educate ourselves, go deeper than the headlines, and actually read stories from survivors. And finally, we vote with our values. We support leaders and policies that are designed to protect vulnerable people. These aren't little things, you guys. They are the absolute building blocks of change.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all of this, I think. That shared sorrow we feel, it doesn't have to just be a heavy weight we carry. It can actually be a source of incredible, incredible strength.
And this leads to a really powerful idea. We aren't just bystanders watching the world's pain go by. The moment we choose to see it, to talk about it, and to do something, we become witnesses. We become advocates. We become, really, caretakers of empathy in a world that is so hungry for it.
So I want to leave you with one last question to think about. If this deep grief for the world's hidden suffering is something so many of us share, what could happen if we decided to share our strength too? I mean, what could we really accomplish if we took all that collective grief and turned it into
The
powerful,
children we don't
collective
see
action?
remind us that grief is not only personal, it is collective. At Next Cradle, we believe that empathy, awareness, and action can turn sorrow into strength. You are not alone in caring. If this message resonates with you, please like this video so others know they're not alone either. We invite you to be part of the Next Cradle community. Subscribe today, and together, let's keep shining a light where it's needed most. Because healing begins when we refuse to look away.